The New Orleans Saints enter the 2025 offseason thinking what could have been. Saints started off super hot in 2024 season, but unfortunately they got hit with a massive case of the injury bug. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down what Saints fans should be looking for here as we enter the 2025 offseason. But before we get into that, if you like the work that we put out and you want to help see the Tracy Take channel grow, the easiest way is hitting that subscribe button, tackling that bell to get notified when new videos come out. And while you're at it, leave a like and a comment. Let us know what you want the Saints to do this offseason. And Ryan, as I said, Saints were the hottest team in the league those first two games.
Yeah.
Beat the Panthers, and at the time, it was impressive how badly they beat them. But then you go into Dallas and just absolutely just beat the brakes off of them, and you're like, wow, like what could this team be? But man, they just got a massive case of the injury bug, and you obviously could tell who my team is, who I'm rooting for, and I like beating you guys. But that being said, though, I hated seeing what happened to you all because it was just absolutely devastating. It seemed like every week it
Yeah.
was just a major injury. From Eric McCoy. I think he was the first guy when he got hurt during Philadelphia, but then Rashid Shaheed went down shortly after that. Then you had Chris Olave dealing with his concussions there. Carr, he got hurt multiple times this year. And then Alvin Kamara even missed some time. Taysom Hill, massive injury. Marshawn Lattimore got hurt, but then they traded him. And we're recording this game as of right now. You'll see this tomorrow, but we're recording this right now. And I forgot, it's fun to see the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore rivalry kick up again, just on a total side note. But Paulson Debo as well, though, his major injury, just major injury after major injury, and a lot of on the offensive line. And that to me was kind of, I think if you go look back at the 2024 season, that's just kind of what this like season just kind of was in a nutshell, just injury riddled.
Yeah, and that's what is so frustrating. I think if I'm a Saints fan, was you had the talent to compete, and you were beating teams thoroughly, and you looked really explosive. You looked good on defense. It's just you couldn't maintain that throughout the full 17 game season, and you can imagine what could have been if they had stayed healthy. So all in all, I mean, you can look at the numbers here. Even with the injuries, offensively, not awful. Definitely some room for improvement there, but you have to imagine with those injuries not in place, those numbers would be a lot better. Defensively, I do think that there's a lot of room for improvement, and I think we'll kind of get into that as this video goes on. But sack production, a little below average in the league, one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, one of the worst passing defenses in the league. So it just all in all, it was just a rough season, I think, for the New Orleans Saints. Let's kind of move on to their free agents and some of their team needs. So starting up top, Chase Young, he signed a 1-year deal this past offseason, so he will be a free agent again. Paulson Adebo, Juwan Johnson, Lucas Patrick, Will Harris, Landon Young, Willie Gay Jr. also signed a 1-year deal. Adam Prentice, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Peyton Turner, Oguchukwu Amadi. I didn't know.
That's pretty.
Yeah. Shamar Jean Charles. Wow, they're really testing my Oli
A
Udo
lot of
is
other guys here as well,
yeah, a
too,
lot of
as
other
you can
guys.
see,
Yeah.
and a lot of these guys towards the end like had very minimal playing time. But the thing to
Yeah.
me though are mainly going to be the names on the left. It's those were some guys that provided some serious playing minutes as well.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to be very interesting for the Saints off season is once again they are last when it comes to available cap space according to Over the Cap. And let me just refresh this, make sure that I got this. They're currently sitting at about negative 52 million over the cap when it comes to 2025 cap space. So once again, they're going to have to somehow make some moves, going to have to cut some players, not re-sign good players that had decent seasons as well to come back, or maybe trade some players and just kind of kick this whole can down the road again. And Ryan, I think we've been doing the Tracy take since what 2021. And I
Yeah.
think every year the Saints have
They're
been last in cap space. And
so I have them at negative 63 million in cap space,
this is just
according to Spot Track. So
so yeah.
it could be
There,
worse.
it's pretty bad. It could be worse, and that's to me. And I'm floating out just kind of an idea here. You played Spencer Rattler the past couple of games, and to be, I'm not saying Spencer Rattler looked great, like he's the franchise quarterback, but he didn't look horrible, all things considered, when Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and a pretty weak offensive line was not on the field with him. Derek Carr, if you cut him with a post June 1st designation, you'd save 30 million in cap for
Yeah.
this year. And you're able to do that, I think, for a couple other guys as well. I, I think at what point I'm just going to be very curious, and they're going to be looking for a new head coach. I need to go back and look to see the GM. Did the GM get fired also? I don't think he did.
I do not remember. I don't think he did either. I forget the GM name off the top of my head. Let me
Okay,
see.
so Mickey Loomis is the GM. And let me just double check this now. Was not a fan of the firing. As of 8 hours ago, Mickey Loomis was not really in favor of firing head coach Dennis Allen. I'm sure Saints fans love hearing that. So it looks like Mickey Loomis is still the GM there as well. To me, it's just at what point are you going to like just bite the bullet and be like, we got to set ourselves up for success, like
Yeah.
in 2026? Because also too, now while you're going through this head coaching candidate, what head coach wants to come into this situation now where you're going to have a pretty depleted cap space? Sounds like then next year you're going to have a pretty depleted cap space as well, and you're only going to have a couple years to maybe do it. I think at some point you're going to have to just blow it up. And I'm
Yeah.
just curious when, because every year it seems like this is the year they're going to do it. This is the year they're going to do it. And this is almost hindering them from having a successful team. It's like we even talked
Yeah.
about. I think 9-8 is kind of the cap for the Saints team, just with the way they handle the cap. Like they have older guys here, like Cam Jordan, potential Hall of Famer, definitely Saints Hall of Famer. And so, but at what point though is it like, hey, maybe we should think about moving on from this guy? Because I think Cam
Yeah.
Jordan's 36. Yeah, he's 36. Been in the league for 14 years, and
Yeah.
it's unfair to Cam Jordan, but that's also the business though too. Taysom Hill, he's
Yeah.
another guy. I think if you cut him with a post June 1st designation, he's 35, going to be coming off an ACL injury. That's 10 million right there. It's now that it is
Yeah.
post June 1st. There's other things you can restructure, you can negotiate as well to keep guys there, but it's that's what I'm going to be very curious on as well, because you look at their team needs. Cornerback is going to be one also that they're going to need since they moved on from Marshawn Lattimore. Paulson Adebo had a devastating leg injury where I think he broke his femur, right?
Yeah. He
If
did.
I'm not mistaken. So defensive line needs some help here as well. As I mentioned, Cam Jordan, he's great, but he's 36 also too. And so I think offensive line depth's another area. I think they have a solid offensive line when healthy. Tulise Fuaga
Yeah.
was a first round draft pick. I thought he played well when healthy as well. Like you have Eric McCoy, Ryan Ramczyk. He had a season ending injury, but solid when he plays. So like they're good pieces there. So I think getting offensive line depth is going to be helpful for the Saints.
Yeah. And that's like I am just impressed at how much they keep kicking the can down the road. And this could be, in my opinion, the perfect offseason to eat it. You have a new coach coming in. You have almost a blank slate. So I think you can cut bait with some of your more veteran players, save some money on the cap. Yeah, you're gonna be picking top 5 again in years to come, but these next 2 quarterback classes look like they could be promising if you want to go that route. You could also be in the Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams lottery in a couple years as well. So like there are other options for the Saints team other than just keeping to kick the can down the road. Because frankly, I think if you guys just eat it for a season or two, I think that you could potentially set yourselves up for more profound success in 4 to 5 years and actually be able to go out and be an attractive destination for free agents, be able to give out some really big contracts without having to negotiate with current players to restructure or kind of work your way around the cap. So,
Yeah.
and I also like to put this in perspective. I am fairly the cap is crap mentality, but when you're coming into every single season with negative 70 million, negative 50 to negative 70 million in cap, that to me is like now you're really hindering your team. Because if you can come into a season with positive cap space and then restructure some contracts to open up 20 to 30 million more, that's when I think teams like the cap is crap with the quotes there. So the Saints are really hindering themselves, I think, in the long haul by continuing to kick this can down the road. And I think they just need to go ahead and eat that negative cap space. So let's move on now to some free agent targets that we have for them. An inexpensive wide receiver that I think could come in and be a good fit: Elijah Moore, John Feliciano, and Kelvin Beachum to strengthen that offensive line. Isaiah Oliver, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Cleveland Farrell are just some good overall contributors, I think, to an NFL offense
Yeah, that
or
was
an
when
NFL defense.
yeah, that's what when putting these guys in here, I definitely think the word inexpensive was the one. Like these are names that stuck out to me that like these guys could come in when you do get the cap space available and you're trying to bring in new talent. This is going to be the route to go. But the saving grace, I think, for the Saints though, is they do have 4 picks in the top 100, 5 if you include the top 110, 6 if you include the top 127. I'm just joking, but so they do have some maneuverability as well. When you're picking 9 and you go look at this team and some of their needs are, if you're looking for offensive line help, you're looking for defensive line help, or if you're looking for a receiver too, which we haven't really talked too much about as well. There are going to be a lot of guys that are going to be around that spot. That they could take. Potentially Nick Scorton could be off the board. Potentially Ted McMillan could be off the board. But I think both those guys would be great. Nick Scorton, I think, is kind of pan out to be the clear number 2 edge in this class, in my opinion. Ted McMillan is the kind of clearing out to be like the clear number 1 wide receiver, just with his overall physical traits. He's a height, weight, speed guy, as you talk about, but also with a
Yeah.
lot of numbers as well. 6'5" to 11, I think, or something like that. I think he'd be a great compliment to Chris Olave. But then if you're trying to bolster up the offensive line, is what we're talking about. Kelvin Banks is going to be there. You're also going to have Will Campbell if he falls a little bit. Josh Simmons from Ohio State, left tackle from Ohio State. Donovan Jackson, if you want to focus on the interior, might be kind of high, I think, for a guard. But Donovan Jackson's been playing left tackle since Josh Simmons got hurt. And he's been doing really well there too. So very versatile offensive lineman. So a lot of guys there. I think I also threw in Malachi Starks as well. Tyrann Mathieu getting up a little bit up there in age if you want to just address the secondary. But Jahdae Barron could be another guy. Will Johnson if he falls a little bit. So there are some guys that I think that will immediately come in and help out on either side of the ball here for the Saints. But once again, though, too, it kind of goes back to the cap situation. Is you're hoping that you hit on these draft picks and that you can develop these guys well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, though, you're just now have a poorer roster, and then you're still like well behind the 8 ball with how far you're on the cap. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't envy the job that Mickey Loomis has at all, or that any GM
Yeah.
has. I do dynasty football, and I get anxiety from like, I don't want to cut this player, but like this player I really like. So I could imagine doing that in real life. So, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm here on the internet just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is like all in all, the Saints, they need to hit on these draft picks. They clearly have the talent, I think, to go and compete at a high level. They can get a head coach in there, solve some of this cap issues, and be an attractive destination for free agents. With one, just being a good football team, and then 2, being able to give out some big lucrative contracts to guys. I think that'll help this organization very much in the long haul. So it looks like the future could be bright for the New Orleans Saints. They just have to make the right moves this offseason.
Yeah, I'm
So
with you.
let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you want to see the New Orleans Saints do this offseason. Do you want them to go get a Ben Johnson? Do you want them to potentially make a move for a franchise quarterback? Let us know down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.